Here's the scene. You've just finished a late night snack in the kitchen. The house is silent. You reach for the light switch, and as soon as that click happens, the room vanishes. Suddenly, you aren't a rational bill-paying adult with a credit score and a 401k. You're a 5-year-old on a mission. You find yourself doing the sprint, that frantic, wide-eyed dash from the kitchen to the safety of your bedroom, convinced that if your heel stays on the floor for more than a second, something under the couch is going to grab it. You dive into the bed, pull the covers over your head, and wait for your heart to stop hammering against your ribs. Then, the embarrassment hits. I'm 30 years old, you think. There's nothing in this hallway except a vacuum cleaner and a pile of laundry. But here's the thing. You aren't childish, and you aren't being irrational. You're experiencing a deep biological echo of a survival strategy that kept your ancestors alive for 6 million years. Welcome to the truth about why you're afraid of the dark, and why that fear is actually your brain's oldest security system. In psychology, we aren't actually afraid of the dark itself. We are afraid of the great unknown. The human brain is an information processing machine. About 80% of the data we use to navigate the world comes through our eyes. When the light goes out, your brain suddenly loses 80% of its situational awareness. Think of your brain like a high-end security team. When the cameras, your eyes, go dark, the security team doesn't just go to sleep. They go on high alert. This is what researchers call anxiety of anticipation. Because your brain can't see what is there, it starts running simulations of what could be there. In the absence of data, your imagination fills the gap with the worst-case scenario. You aren't afraid of the dark. You're afraid of what the dark is hiding. Now, to understand why those worst-case scenarios involve monsters and shadows, we have to look at our evolutionary history. For the vast majority of human existence, we weren't the top of the food chain. We were snacks. And most of the things that wanted to eat us, lions, leopards, hyenas, were crepuscular or nocturnal. They had evolved night vision that made our human eyes look like broken flashlights. The humans who were chill about the dark, they didn't survive long enough to become our ancestors. The humans who were jumpy, paranoid, and terrified of every snapped twig in the bushes, those are your great-great-great-grandparents. Your fear of the dark is an evolutionary leftover. When you're standing in your hallway at 2 a.m., your DNA still thinks you're on the African savannah, and it's reminding you that the shadows belong to the hunters. Your director is just following a very old script written for a much more dangerous world. Now, have you ever noticed that when it's dark, every sound becomes 10 times louder? A house settles with a loud crack, or the refrigerator hums like a low growl. This is a neurological phenomenon called sensory compensation. When the brain loses its primary sense, sight, it turns up the volume on everything else to compensate. Your auditory cortex goes into high gain mode. Your brain is literally zooming in on every floorboard creak. It's trying to build a map of the room using sound alone. The problem is, because you're already in a state of high arousal, thanks to the evolutionary paranoia, your logical brain, the prefrontal cortex, is being bypassed. Your amygdala, the panic center, takes the wheel and decides that the house settling isn't just wood expanding, it's a footstep. This brings us back to the most mysterious part of being afraid of the dark, the blanket. Why do we feel safe under a sheet? A piece of cotton isn't going to stop a monster or a burglar, yet we feel fundamentally protected when we're under the covers. This is that transitional object logic coming back into play. The blanket provides deep pressure stimulation, which signals the nervous system to switch from fight or flight to rest and digest. It's a tactile boundary. By covering yourself, you're hiding in a way that feels neurologically real to your brain. If the predator can't see you, you don't exist. It's a primitive but effective way to trick your brain into lowered cortisol levels so you can finally drift off. The truth is, being afraid of the dark isn't a glitch in your personality. It's a sign that your brain's threat detection software is working exactly as intended. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. But when you're tired of the midnight sprint, there are ways to help your modern brain talk down your ancient one. First, consider the slow fade. If total darkness triggers that high alert state, use a warm, red-toned nightlight. Red light is a psychological cheat code. It doesn't disrupt your melatonin production, but it gives your security team just enough visual data to see that the hallway is, in fact, empty. Second, try the narrative flip. When you hear a suspicious creak, don't just let it echo in silence. Label it out loud. Say, "That's just the house cooling down," or "That's the floorboard settling." By literally speaking the cause, you shift the processing from your panicked amygdala back to your logical prefrontal cortex. You're taking the steering wheel back from the caveman in your head. And finally, practice the check-in. Remind yourself that this fear is just a biological ghost, a protective instinct that simply overstayed its welcome. You aren't being a baby, you're being a human. You're just a sophisticated organism with a very long memory. The next time you're sprinting up the stairs after turning off the basement light, don't shush your inner child. Smile. You're just experiencing a 6 million-year-old survival instinct that is still looking out for you. Your brain is a noisy, protective, ancient machine. It wants you to be safe, even if it has to invent a monster to keep you on your toes. You aren't crazy for checking behind the shower curtain, you're just well defended. If this look into the shadows helped you feel a little more courageous, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're here to shine a light on the weirdest parts of being human, so you don't have to navigate them in the dark. Now, I'll see you on the next one. Sleep tight and keep those feet under the covers.